I didn't give myself another option. I was going to be a softball player, and even when I was younger, it wasn't the option. Like, there wasn't a really big opportunity to do so, so I don't know what I was thinking. But even, growing up, I wanted to be a teacher, and now I get to teach softball to the next generation and try to give my knowledge to them and my love of the game to them and explain to them it's okay to play as yourself, it's okay to have a lot of emotions, and try to take what Coach G has taught me and put that into the youth now. So softball's a huge part of my life. It's everything. I mean, I've got to make a career out of it, and I'm very lucky.
When did you first start playing softball?
I started t-ball at 4, softball at 5. I have 2 older half siblings who played baseball and softball, and they're like 9 to 16 years older than me. So from my first memories of anything, I was at a ballpark, fell in love with it. I remember my sister was already playing, fast pitch and seeing the wind up and being like, wow. And literally since that moment, it's all I've loved. I've loved it from the very beginning. All I cared about was school, softball, and eating, and still very similar to that today. But yeah, so I started around 4 or 5.
As a high school freshman, you played third, first, and pitched. What was your favorite of those 3 positions?
I enjoyed third a lot. I think because it allowed me to be athletic still. I had a senior pitcher who played over me, so they wanted to keep me in the lineup, but needed, I wasn't going to pitch all the time. But I truly love pitching, and if you ask me where I wanted to play on the field, that's what I'm going to say, whether it was freshman year or today. But it was a nice experience to be athletic and help my team however I could.
You're playing 3 positions as a freshman. At what point did you fully commit to just pitching?
I was fully committed to pitching from the jump. And I knew that if I wanted to play on varsity, I would have to be willing to give up something. But probably more of my sophomore year, where I had that starting pitching position, is where I was like, all right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to hit. I believe on my select ball teams as well, I was kind of the go-to. So I enjoyed all the excitement, all the hard, plays. I probably got myself into so many jams of like walking the bases loaded and getting myself out of it and like not even, batting an eye. And I'm just like, another day at the ballpark. I did it to myself, sorry.
What's it like when you get yourself into a jam and you know that if you don't strike this person out, a run is going to walk home?
Younger me, I would probably freak out, especially because younger me tried to do it all by myself, striking everyone out. Anything in my area, I was going to go and attack it. And I truly think my time here at OSU, where I trusted the defense and had the friendships behind me and trusted them to make plays, is when I finally let go of the reins. Even if I did get myself into a position of I walked the bases loaded, I knew that, if I could get a ground ball to Kylie or Sid or Maddie Sue behind me, things would be okay. And I think that's why I was able to perform the way I did my senior year. But I still get myself into jams. Can't get away from it. But I definitely have a more calm mind in those situations.
Coming out of high school, or while you were still in high school, what were some of the schools that were recruiting you?
So funny enough, I took one visit to Texas A&M, committed on the spot as a 14-year-old. So, I don't know. But I will say once I decided to leave A&M, I took a visit to here. I took a visit to Washington and to University of Louisiana, Lafayette. I think I had Michigan reach out too. So those are some of the schools that did reach out. I did think about decommitting my junior year of high school and just being able to see what my options were. But funny enough, so OSU was my first visit when I did decide to transfer. And I told my parents, I was like, I want to see all the options. Like, I don't want to go somewhere and commit on the spot. And I come here and I was like, I want to commit on the spot. And my mom was like, Sam, we just talked about this. You need to go see your other options, even if this is the yes. But I had to tell Coach G without telling Coach G, like, I'll be here in a couple weeks.
Gotta do my due diligence, but I will be back.
Yeah.
We're gonna get you coming to Oklahoma State first. You said you committed in it. Well, we're gonna get you coming here in a second. You said you committed when you were 14 to Texas A&M. That's very young. What was it about College Station that drew you to that school?
Right. So the select team I played on, I actually had a couple teammates that were already committed there, because I played my birthday something weird where I was one of the younger ones in the age group. And the area I grew up in Houston, A&M was kind of where people went. So when Coach Evans offered, I was like, my friends are doing it, like, okay, that's a 14-year-old response. I was barely a freshman. It was literally September of my freshman year of high school. Like, can't blame it on my parents because they didn't know any better. They just heard free school and they were like, Sam, do it. And I was like, okay, cool. And it was close to home, which I didn't really think about that in the time, but it was probably a nice thing as a 14-year-old thinking. I knew that I was gonna know people there. And they had a pitcher there, Mel Dumazic, who, tall blonde pitcher who hit, and I was like, I want to be her. So those were probably the main factors in going there.
What was it like playing 3 seasons in the SEC?
It was difficult. My freshman class, we all started as freshmen, which was a really unheard of thing, and we made a really big name for ourselves. But we got everyone's best. I mean, from facing the Alabamas, the Floridas, LSU, and it was just like, I think freshman year me was still in like, this is fun, like softball, softball, softball. And we all started and we were all getting a bunch of time and we didn't really think anything else of it. As the years went on, I think I started coming to like, oh, we're like playing the best of the best right now, whether you're facing Kentucky, South Carolina, whatever it was. But I think it allowed some of the postseason runs to be a little bit easier, even though we were still facing the same teams in super regionals. But it was good.
At what point in your career did you start to think about transferring away?
Early on in my junior season, one of my really good friends, Keely Milligan, and I were very close, and something weird was happening with our playing time. I mean, you go from starting as freshmen and being Keely was our leadoff, I was the go-to pitcher, and throughout the years, that just kind of trickling down with no explanation. And there were weekends where I wasn't even pitching an SEC play, like nothing. And I would go in and talk, and they gave very vague answers. Like, oh, your bullpen was bad. Well, then you should have told me in my bullpen that my bullpen was bad so I can fix it so I can help the team win. And we get into regionals and I pitch against, the 4 seed we hosted. We run ruled them, and that was the last time I saw the field pitching the rest of postseason. I got a couple pinch hits. Hit a home run off Baylor in one of my pinch hits, and then we get Florida and supers. I don't start at all, hitting or pitching, and they decide to, pinch hit me, and I'm producing for the team, I'm scoring runs, and I remember we got to game 3 with Florida in Gainesville. We lose. I was happy because Keely and I were roommates, and Keely was already like, I'm leaving, and I was like, okay. Well, kind of want to leave too. And funny enough, my dad was trying to get me to transfer after my freshman year. And being committed, verbally committed as a 14-year-old, I was committed to that school for like 7 years. That's a long time. And just to think after your freshman year, like, oh, it's time to leave, that didn't sit right with me. I wanted to like tough it out and see, if I could change things. Nothing came about it. And after losing to Florida, game 3, wasn't sad. I was honestly happy, and I looked up at my dad and I had some tears in my eyes, and I said, you need to find me somewhere else to play my senior year. Literally, like still in uniform, still in Gainesville, the seniors are crying behind me, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I did not love softball. literally hated going to practice. I didn't like my life in College Station, so it was really affecting everything. And packed up, went back to College Station. We had end of the year meetings, and I went in there with notes and stats and everything, trying to explain to them how unhappy I was, because you look at the 3 years and things did not match up. And I was getting better throughout that. They didn't get it. I walk out of the meeting crying. And I took about another week, and I called up another meeting to tell them that I was leaving. And the meeting was no longer than 5 minutes. She didn't try to convince me to stay. She just said she was disappointed. And I was like, it's okay, give me my papers and I'm gone. So I actually transferred before the portal. And at that time, there was like a period that they had a certain amount of days to give me my release papers. She took the whole time. And I'm now a senior, trying to find somewhere to play, not knowing if teams were gonna want me, if they were gonna have money for me. And so her taking her sweet time, I was like, that's so mean. Like I wanna find somewhere to go and have fun and play softball. Get the papers back. There were schools on the list that they could restrict me from talking to. Anyone in the region of they could play in regionals, she like X'd. Luckily OSU wasn't one of them. But out of the list, there were a couple schools where I was like, if you don't give me access to talk to these schools, I will go public and I will tell everybody that you're restricting me from these schools. I didn't even end up going to any of those, so I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, it was a very wild process, and everything happened so slow at first, but then quick. But yeah, that was what that was like.
What did not playing the end of your junior year in the regionals do for your confidence?
Oh, I was like, probably lowest confidence has been, but also like I was probably more angry than anything. With the lack of communication and just not being able to go out there and do what I do best. And I don't even know if they realized that, but yeah, leaving there, I didn't really know where I could go after that, because it wasn't like there was I was kind of in a low. I didn't feel that good about myself. I really didn't know what opportunities could come of it, but yeah, I was probably more angry than anything.
You got clearance to transfer, you got your papers. At what point did you make contact with Oklahoma State?
So funny enough, Taylor Lynch reached out to me over Twitter DMs. Me and her had played against each other in select ball when we were younger. She was like, hey, heard you're transferring. What do you know about Oklahoma State? And I was like, funny enough, I think I just watched y'all on TV in the regionals, and I remember them talking about Shippey. And I was like, look, I'm open to anything. And she was like, here's Coach G's number, give him a call. I believe I was working a softball camp, making some money during the summer, and I call him, and I could hear the excitement in his voice. And I still don't know anything about Oklahoma State and what kind of season they had or anything like that. And we set up a date, and he seemed really excited. I told him that working out was a really big part of me, and so I got in contact with Wes, who was the strength coach at the time, and talking, stuff out. And this was my first visit, and I believe Oklahoma State was the first school for me and them to have contact with.
What made you want to come here?
Once I got on campus, honestly, it was the coaching staff. As a 21, 22-year-old coming on a visit here, I realized that growing up, I had a lot of male coaches, and I needed and wanted a predominantly male coaching staff. And so to see Coach G, Jeff, Wes being the strength coach, and then Coach P, and just being around, they treated me like a human. Like they were already kind of like messing with me and being sarcastic, and I was like, I like this. Like, they're not gonna sugarcoat anything. They're not gonna beat around the bush. Like, they're gonna be straightforward. Coach G came straight out. He was like, I don't know if I can truly make you better at softball because you're already there. I wanna make you a better person. I wanna help you be better with communicating. I want to just help you all around. And he was like, I can give you the starting spot. You're going to be the leader. You're going to be the it girl. Do you want that? And I was like, give it to me, everything about it. Because growing up, that's what I was too. You're gonna be able to hit, you'll play first base when you're not pitching, you're gonna be the starting pitcher, and I was just like, cool. Also, my visit here in the summer, some of the girls were taking summer classes and training up here, and I hadn't seen that before. And that kind of showed me that they were committed to getting better, getting to the World Series, the end goal, winning, everything. And that they were willing to, give up spare time, their off season, to be up here and to get better. And that was always my mindset throughout the summertime. There was a car ride with Jeff. He's not a man of many words, and he was just, I felt like I connected with him even though there wasn't a lot of talking, and that made me feel really good. And just like the sense of Coach G and him having the open door, and you have to walk by the door every time you walk in first to the field, that was just something that was really a breath of fresh air on my end.
To be the hero. And she's a hero. She has done it again. Incredibly. The bat flip. 8 out of 15 times she has turned the game around. And the Oklahoma State Cowgirls have done it again. They have come from behind to win another dramatic game. A 3-run shot by Samantha Show. Now time for the all-time home run record in Cowgirl history. That is amazing.
Oh, my word.
You go from A&M, confidence at a low, to Coach G saying, you're going to be our starter. I'm going to make you a better person. I'm going to help you with all of these things. How did that help you?
Oh my gosh. It allowed me to perform the way I did. When I first got here, I think I was a little bit more closed off. I had a very hard exterior, not really opening up to any of my teammates. And finally, Coach G just had to be like, you have to give them a shot. Like, you have to trust them. And I was like, okay, sure. And there were some things that happened in the fall that allowed the girls to just come together. And I came to find out later in the season, they had a meeting without me, and the girls just had to be told that, like, my tone may not be the best all the time, but I am here to win, and whatever comes with that, and whether that means I may have to get on you a couple times or tell you to get it together, I'm doing that because I want us to win. And once everyone kind of bought into that, I think you saw what kind of season we had. But the trust and confidence from the coaching staff and my teammates and me, I think that's what helped me allowed to get back to probably freshman year Sam, or even before that. And it was so much fun to be able to play free and like a kid at recess. That was one thing that Coach G and I always said, like, you're a kid at recess. You're just going out and playing and having fun. And I truly appreciate him being able to bring that back out of me.
You mentioned the team meeting and how you might have had a certain way of delivering some things to people. What was the team's first impression of you when you got here?
Probably that I was like a hard exterior, right? I didn't care who you were. If we were gonna inter-squad scrimmage, I was giving it everything I had, and that probably scared some people at first and maybe pushed them away. But I think once they saw in game what that looked like, I think they were like, oh, I'm glad she's on our team and that we don't have to play against her. I think that was probably the first impression. Yeah.
Coach G called you polarizing at one point. What's your response to that?
It just makes me laugh. That's not a word that I would use for myself, but I don't take offense to it. I do know that I have that effect on people, and even Coach G has told me multiple times, like, you're a hard athlete to coach because I do push everybody to the limit. I'm gonna ask the questions. I'm gonna ask why we run the play this way. why did this happen? What are we doing this for? And I think even from a coaching aspect, that's probably a very true statement. But for someone, a coach like Coach G, he didn't shy away from it. He coached me while, if there were times where maybe it was too much, he helped me reel it back a little bit and how to navigate me as the person I am so I can play as myself and make sure that I was the best that I could be.
How did you learn to sort of change your approach or tone when addressing the team?
I knew that if something I said wasn't in the best tone, that I had to go back and like apologize, tell them I really didn't mean for it to come off as mean, but this is what I meant. There were multiple times I can remember at practice where we were in our squad. I got a hit off one of the pitchers and someone asked what pitch that was. The pitcher said change up, and from first base I yell, that was not a change up. And I didn't realize it, but the pitcher so I got back in the dugout and they were like, Sam, you have to go apologize. And I was like, for what? And he was like, well, how you said it, it came off bad. And I was like, I was just trying to tell her that that pitch needs to be better. Like, that's not gonna be able to get people out. And so I had to go back and be like, I'm sorry that I said what I said, but the pitch's speed isn't where it needs to be. And so little things like that happened and taught me how to, even if my tone is bad, that doesn't mean that I have to stop saying it, but that I have to have another conversation, apologize, and hopefully they understand that I was just doing that to help the team.
What's your relationship like with those teammates now?
It's still really good. It's crazy to sit back and watch Shy go and hit that 3-run home run last night. And I've always been a Shy Factor fan, even from the first moment. That was probably one of the first players, seeing her practicing and being like, oh, she's got it. I want her on my team. And even Kylie, on the professional team I'm playing for, trying to, I wanted Kylie, to come play with us. And it's really nice to be back and to see the smiles from Tuck and even some of the newer players like Mo Wynn and Caitlin Carwile. I know Kate's not new, but just it's nice to see them. They're seniors now and how much they've grown. And I remember telling Tuck maybe last year, I was like, dude, you look like a ball player. That's not who she was freshman year. And it's so nice to see them evolve, and I'm still all of their biggest fans. And it's nice to come back and see familiar faces too, but even people like Rock, me and Rock are still in really good communications and still really good friends. I'm staying with Mal Goodman, who she didn't play in the spring, but me and her got really close in the fall, so I still have a lot of friends, which was a really big thing for me because I didn't make friends before that. And so to still be close to those teammates and friends, and it's fun to see them, even though we're not always the closest and we don't communicate all the time. It's still we don't miss a beat when we are together.
Why do you think you didn't make friends before here? It's so sad.
I didn't say that to get empathy, but I think because of who I was, it pushed people away, and younger me definitely felt the effects of that. And I know now that if people don't like who I am, that's a them problem. If they're not gonna be in my circle and wanna be around me, then those aren't the people I wanna be around. In my time here, my senior year, those were a lot of the conversations that Coach G and I had. You can't just close yourself off when something else happens. That's something that I did a lot. And there wasn't a lot of trust in other people, but after my time here, and even my first year in the pros, I made friends, and that was because of all the things that I learned here. That's why I still like coming back. So, if Coach G and I need to have a talk, and that way I'm better for June 1st when I have to report for my season.
Kept his promise, he'd make you a better person.
Man, he sure did.
We've established that you're very competitive. However, that competitiveness helped you lead the team back to the Women's College World Series in 2019. What was that experience like for you?
It was so cool. I made it a goal for myself when I got here that I wanted to end my career at the Women's College World Series. Luckily, my teammates were all for it, and I truly appreciate everything that they did. But to see them, there were myself, I know that Coach G had been, and Sydney Springfield had also been to the World Series before. And so to see the team, like I can vividly remember winning against FSU in that third game and catching that ball at first base and just seeing everyone and how happy they were.
Davis puts it in play. Montgomery makes the toss. Oklahoma State is going back to the World Series.
That was probably more of an exciting thing for me. And to create such a fan base for us, because we were always the underdog. We were never supposed to go as far as we did. And just to see everyone truly enjoy themselves and to have fun playing softball. I mean, it was hot at Florida State. It was hot. And to see everyone still grind it out and be able to go out and perform the way that they did, and to get to OKC, and you know, we get like a big goodie bag from Nike, and before we got our Nike bags, a lot of us went and got FTG tattoos, because that was our saying my senior year, and we were actually late to the Nike reveal because we were all getting tattoos. But that's just how we were. Like, we were for the girls. We were all gonna do it together, and if we were gonna be late, we were gonna be late together. Luckily, it was such a good experience, and I don't even know if I cried when we lost, because I was so happy with how things ended. Would it have been great to, you know, make it a little bit farther? Absolutely, but to end the way we did, nobody expected us to be there, yet everyone was our biggest fans, whether they were Florida fans, Oklahoma fans, whatever it was, everybody truly enjoyed watching us. And to create kind of the way for other transfers looking for that last year of like eligibility, and they wanted to go have fun. And it was, I always can't wait for seeing like who's coming in next, you know, like, and trying to reach out to them. You know, even Coach G, there were multiple times where, hey, there's this kid, I need you to reach out to her. We want her. Okay, whatever you need, I'll do whatever you want. Just because I know how my senior year went and what that meant to have, you know, just one more shot to do what I did.
Something you became known for over your career was your bat flips. Mm-hmm. How much thought went into the bat flip?
Zero. Funny enough, so I mentioned that I hit a home run against Baylor, and I pimped that ball hard. It was a pinch hit, I crushed it, and I actually, I think it started my junior year when we played Florida in conference. And I got like my first hit off Kelly Barnhill, and I hit a home run off the left field foul pole. And there's a clip where I just like walk halfway up the baseline, because one, I didn't know if it was fair or foul. Two, I finally got a hit off Kelly Barnhill. And so to get here and to play as myself and not feel like I was gonna have consequences for pimping a home run or doing whatever. And that kind of, it falls back on the coaching staff and my teammates. My teammates were gonna support me, coaching staff was gonna support me, and I was playing so free that I didn't know what I was doing in those moments. I couldn't tell you why I did it, but it was a lot of emotion. I'm a very emotional player. I wear all my emotions, you know, on my sleeve, and I think that goes, and it showed in the bat flips, but also telling my team, we're still in this. I just crushed this ball, like we're still in it, we can't give up yet. And I don't know if we ever did feel like we were out of any game, but there was just a lot of emotion and telling my team, like, we've got this, like we can't give up just yet.
In the Women's College World Series game against Florida, opening round, there was like the bat flip heard round the world. It was very intense.
Yes.
Chow gets a hold of another one, deep center field, the bat flip as she rounds the bases, and Oklahoma State has the lead.
What do you remember about that at bat?
I knew that if we could get a runner on and score, if we just needed to score one more, I knew that we could win that game, because I had gone up hit a home run my first at bat, went back on the field, gave up a home run. And I knew, unfortunately, my teammates hadn't seen Kelly Barnhill a lot, so I knew that I had to be the person to kind of keep the energy going. I was surprised that they were even pitching to me because of how I was the only one that had seen Kelly all 4 years. And maybe that's where some of the arrogance and ego comes in on their side, but I hit that ball and people always ask, like, how do you know it's out? I was like, I don't know. But the more you hit of them, you can kind of tell the flight. And I mean, I knew that I had got all of that ball. The bat flip, the tomahawk, I don't recommend it to anyone because it's like I blacked out a little bit and I did it. And then I was like, oh my God, my bat's going towards my dugout. And if you watch the video again, I watch my bat as I'm running up the first base line. And once I saw it was going to our male managers and our strength coach, who was a male, I was like, I could hit them. I don't care as long as it doesn't hit my teammates. But I knew that we had won that game right then and there, and that's where all the emotion comes from. And to hear and see my teammates at home plate running towards them, it was the coolest thing. I go back and still watch and look at some of the pictures just because it's such an amazing moment to see all their faces and how exciting they were, and to hear the crowd and everything like that. And I mean, I crushed that ball. I was impressed with what I did too. And it was just a really cool experience.
Florida ended your career at A&M. How much more special was that to be against, of all teams, Florida?
Yeah, so I actually went to the Women's College World Series my sophomore year. We also played Florida first game out of it. And so there was just a lot leading up to that. And I remember watching Supers. I think it was Florida and Tennessee had the Super Regional matchup. And I was like, I want Florida so bad, so bad. They won, and I was like, yes. I knew selfishly probably that we could at least put up a really good fight. And so to go out and do what I did, and I remember I knew that if I could keep Amanda Lorenz off the base path, or at least keep her in the park, that we would be okay, and that's exactly what we did. And defense played really good behind me, and I think that's probably why I was able, once we lost, I probably wasn't too emotional because of that first game, honestly.
What did Coach G say to you after that tomahawk bat flip?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know if he did say anything to me. And I think what people didn't realize is most of the time they didn't see it happen in real life because they were watching the ball. And I feel like Coach G was always so calm and collected too. I don't even know what happened after that game. I know that I talked to Holly Rowe.
This is the first trip to the Women's College World Series for any of you on your team to play here on this field for Oklahoma State. How can you guys build on this momentum?
Taking it one game at a time. We're going to get another team, we're going to get another game, and knowing that when we're on and we're good, we're really good. And so just keeping that, not making any moment too big, we'll go far.
Everything was so exciting and adrenaline and everything, but he was always a fan of the bat flip. He wasn't going to tell me not to do it. I think I got in trouble more for maybe how I reacted after getting out or striking out. That's probably more when he talked to me. Yeah, he was always a big fan.
You're a starting pitcher here, also a top hitter. How difficult is it to do both?
Looking back at it, it was really difficult, but that's what I wanted. I wanted to spend a lot of time at the field. I wanted to get here early, hit in a hitting group, throw my bullpen, and then go to practice. I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't know if I could. And I always tell people, it is really hard, but if it's what you want to do, it's not hard. You want it, you like spending your time at the field, unfortunately. And there's even been some times in my professional career where I'm like, do I continue to pitch? Because I haven't gotten a lot of time pitching, and last year I didn't plan on pitching a lot anyways. And this off season I've gotten back into it, and I was like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to pitch, I'm supposed to hit, and I'm supposed to compete on both ends. And I know that OSU has gotten a lot of pitchers who do hit. And I just tell them, like, if you want to be great at both, you have to work so hard to do so. I wasn't afraid of failure. I wasn't afraid of the grind. And I think that's why I was able to make a really good career out of it.
What role does softball play in your life today?
Man, it's my job. It's weird to think that, like, this is I turned 27 this year, so like my 22nd year of softball. I tell people that and they're like, whoa, and I was like, yeah. But I didn't give myself another option. I was going to be a softball player, and even when I was younger, it wasn't the option, like there wasn't a really big opportunity to do so, so I don't know what I was thinking. But even, growing up, I wanted to be a teacher, and now I get to teach softball to the next generation and try to give my knowledge to them and my love of the game to them and explain to them it's okay to play as yourself, it's okay to have a lot of emotions, and try to take what Coach G has taught me and put that into the youth now. So softball's a huge part of my life. It's everything. I mean, I've got to make a career out of it, and I'm very lucky.
Coach Gajewski described you as polarizing. How would you describe yourself?
I like the word authentic, authentically me. And now kind of hearing that word, I think I like polarizing, because I think some players would take offense to it and it be negative, but that's kind of what I am. I am polarizing. I step onto the field and people feel it, and I'm gonna start using that when people ask me that. I'm gonna use the word polarizing.
Is there any athlete in any sport that you would compare yourself to in terms of your playing style and intensity?
People, have asked me, like, who's my favorite player? Who did I really look up to? And I've never had an answer. I was always compared to Jenny Finch growing up because I'm tall, blonde, I pitch, yada, yada. But I didn't feel the connection playing-wise. Growing up, I had a guy best friend who played baseball, so I've always had a connection to the baseball side of it, and I think that's where my kind of confidence or cockiness, you'll say, kind of comes from it. I really enjoy watching Tim Anderson play, and I think that's where the bat flips kind of accumulated from. I'm completely blanking on this other pitcher's name. I can't even think. I follow him on Twitter. He's a pitcher for the Cubs now. He's a smaller guy. Marcus Stroman. There we go. Marcus Stroman, a pitcher for the Cubs. And his little thing is height doesn't measure heart. And so I know that's probably for maybe someone on the smaller side, but I have a really big heart for softball and I love playing. And I think it shows in the way that I play too, but also like it's a game and it's supposed to be fun and it's entertaining. And if you don't want to watch softball, then it's not being played right, I truly believe. And even in the professional side of things, just trying to bring the fun into it. Like, let's interact with the fans. Let's give them a show. Let's give them something to like watch. And I think my time here really helped me buy into that and who I was as a player. And I love playing softball with my heart.
You came in your senior year, so you only had 1 year at Oklahoma State. However, you earned or voted the title of captain. How did you get the title of captain?
So beginning of the spring semester, before we had even played any games, everybody voted on the captain spot. I was not initially one of the ones voted in. Part of me was like, I'm new, cool, but then the other part of me, I was like, my feelings are hurt a little bit, whatever. So we go and open up in Houston. I perform really well. And I guess the captains at the time, it was Sydney Pennington and Maddie Sue and Elise LaBeouf. I guess they had a meeting all together and they were like, we want Sam to have the captain. So I think Maddie Sue called me, maybe Coach G did, or we had a meeting in Coach G's office and they were just like, hey, we appreciate you, we love what you do, and we want you to, wear the C on your chest. I believe I cried. I believe I did cry. So it was a really bonding experience because initially they didn't know, and my performance and the way that I played really earned me that. And I didn't take it lightly because I knew that I wasn't one of the original, 3, but that my team wanted me to have that. And I remember talking with Coach G, and he was like, I wanted to give it to you because I knew, but I had to let the team figure it out for itself. And so I still have a lot of pride in that because my team believed in me to be the leader, the captain, or whatever that may be. And it was a really cool day for me to be able to wear that and to be able to look up at my frame jersey and to see that C on the chest is something I really hold close to my heart.
What does Oklahoma State mean to you?
It's home still. I still feel like I can come back and, not feel out of place. And I believe that my time here is what allowed me to make softball my career. It brought the love of softball back to me. I've created some really good friendships here, and I wear and represent Oklahoma State proudly in the pro league, and even, back home in Austin, Texas, I still wear my Oklahoma State stuff. No fear of like, ugh, you're in the wrong orange. No, I'm not. I'm in the right orange. Sorry, you're in the wrong orange. And even like training, they're like, we're tired of you wearing orange. And I was like, sorry, like it's my place, it's my school. And I'm grateful that Coach G gave me the opportunity to represent and that I still get to represent, when I'm not here.
How do you hope people remember you?
As someone who loved the game and played that way and brought fun and excitement to the game, I love that people come up to me and talk about my bat flips. I think there may have been a time early on where I didn't want that, but now it's a part of me. I think it showed some of our players that it's okay to like play on fire almost. And just, kind of falling back on that word of polarizing. That's me. I want to be remembered as someone polarizing, and that brought a lot of presence to the softball field.